fire, 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 fire.
Okay, what is this? I would be more inclined to believe that dropping out of the workforce really is because quote-unquote jobs suck and society is rigged against men, if the same men were also not dropping out of life entirely across the board. What? If these men were becoming unemployed but traveling around the world or joining a motorcycle gang or getting into adventures, I could see it. Maybe if they were going into the woods and building cabins and creating off-grid militias, if they spent their free time doing anything interesting, but they don't. These men don't use their newly found time to fulfill a lot of the male fantasies and real-life side quests we all want to do. Society and my jobs suck, so I have dropped out. Doesn't explain why they are also the most sedentary men, the most likely to be obese, the least likely to socialize with others despite having the most free time and everything else that comes with it. It doesn't explain why they are consumers of social slop like television, media, and video games. More, but not producers of anything novel, adventurous, or constructive. Okay, first of all, how are men supposed to go on adventures and join a motorcycle gang if they don't have a job and an income? You fucking retard. Like, just right off the bat. Like, what do you mean? Go get a join a motorcycle gang and travel? With what money? Hello? And if they were going into the woods and building cabins and being off-grid with, like, no phone reception or anything like that, you wouldn't hear about it either because they're off-grid. I'm sure there are people who do that, actually. Petrol's expensive. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, yeah, petrol's also really expensive compared to, like, 30 years ago. How old is this guy? Maybe he looks like about 35, maybe 40. That's still so delusional to, like, think that. They hunt a dragon and collect the treasure it's protecting. Yes, yes. There's just treasure chests all over the wilderness. Yes, like, shocker. Men who feel disenfranchised, like society hates them, which a lot of society does, and is rigged against, shockingly have low motivation, because what's the point, chat? At least video games and television or films are an escape from that society. I can't believe this person typed that unironically. Is this rage bait? I don't think so. I actually think this person is just like, these young'uns, they don't go out and they don't have a job, and they just need to go join a motorcycle gang. All right, heading out to the forest. Yeah, you're gonna build yourself a cabin by yourself. Yeah, and then look at the ratio. Look at the retweets versus comments. Yeah, daily rage bait. Most people can't even afford video games and television on welfare, by the way. I know, it's a shocker. Most people can only afford to buy like maybe 1 or 2 games a year when they're on welfare. This reminds me of the same attitude that a lot of boomers and Gen Xers try to implement and say, oh, just stop being depressed. It's the same thing. Yeah, man, that totally works. Why did you drop out of life and just play video games? Just stop feeling disenfranchised and get a shitty job. Yeah, because no one else will hire you because you need 15 years of experience when you're 20 years old. While you're being told that you should be doing better because you're white and a male, or both, or a male. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Yeah, that's right. Just stop being depressed, bro. Just go on an adventure with, like, your millions of dollars. Just go do expensive things with no money, bro. Literal retard. Like, this shit pisses me the fuck off, man. This has gotta be excellent rage bait. Makes me so sad. Can we talk about the whole why aren't unemployed men who've dropped out of the workplace going on adventures and traveling the world comment with what money meant? I literally just said that. It's insane. Motorcycles are insanely expensive. Nobody really rides them anymore. And to top it off, gas is through the roof. Like, really? You didn't think about this before you typed it? Oh wait, you didn't because you're stupid. The disenfranchised, like sad, beaten down generations need to go and just ride a motorcycle and that'll fix everything. Go out into the woods with what money? You know what's funny? These people always say that and they say, oh, just save up $20,000 and then you can go off into the woods and like build yourself a cabin. Okay, how do I get $20,000? I literally can't afford to save. It's an actual statistic that people between Gen Z and millennials in that bracket, they can't fucking save money. They can't, like they literally can't. It's not about poor spending or not being able to like get money or a job. It's just physically impossible. You are lucky if you're saving around about $1,000 to $2,000 a month. You're lucky. Lucky. You are saving and that's good. Plus, it's not easy to take time off of work. No, he's implying that if you quit your job and go and live in a cabin in the woods, that you're gonna just sustain yourself forever with the money that you had saved, which is not possible. It's lucky if you can even save $300 a month. Dude, I remember the first $200 I saved is because I basically only ate rice and beans at one point for like a whole week. Rice, beans, and bacon, and that was it. The forming off-grid militias is wild too. This guy watches too much TV. Yeah, man, why aren't men going into the woods and building camps like I saw on The Walking Dead? Yeah, this is brain rot for sure. That's why I think this might be like pretty... It's not rage bait. This guy actually thinks like this. If you quit your job and move into the woods to be a hermit because you hate society and your job, full respect. Maybe you go live in a van and climb every natural park. Get a van. Live in a van, by the way. That costs a couple grand to like buy, by the way. And that's if you're lucky, and usually you have to fix it up yourself, which costs even more money to fix yourself if it's a beat up van. There's a guy on TikTok that I remember seeing that said that he's living out of his car and basically working like 50, 60 hours a week, delivering Uber Eats or door dashing to save up 70,000, and it's taken him like over 13 months to get to 50K. And that's working yourself like a dog. I don't know, just kind of weird. All this magical money. How much money do you have? You have MSc Cognitive and Behavioral Neuroscience. That must have costed a pretty penny, a couple $100 grand. A master's in behavioral neuroscience. Where'd you get the money from? Is it a student loan? Perhaps? Yeah. You're living a dream, you are doing something, you're having adventures, but these men are not. Dropping out of society doesn't mean that they are now free to pursue some kind of bohemian or alternative lifestyle. It just turns out that they immerse themselves in vices. This is so fucking dumb. This isn't like the 90s or 80s where you could save up 3 grand, buy a van, and then sustain yourself through living through like a little bit of money at a time and doing people favors. It doesn't exist, man. That is over. I know what they're talking about. I talked to like a Gen X man one time through work, and he was like, oh, these youngins, man, they can't just save themselves up like 5 grand. They're just so bad at like spending money. And I'm like, it takes like so long to save up 2 grand. I saved up money for my model, and that was like a career investment. I didn't know if I was gonna succeed or not, but I was content with like at least trying. This is like an adventure thing where, oh, fuck the world, I'm gonna go do my own thing. This is like when Nietzsche spoke of the oxen losing his yoke. Throwing off the yoke is invaluable in itself. The yoke might be the only thing valuable to the oxen. You don't suddenly become the Ubermensch through mere negation and rejection. You must also create and do something. Imagine having infinite free time and not making yourself into a well-rounded Renaissance man who has 1,000 adventures under your belt. Total waste of a life. Much worse than merely being unemployed. A Renaissance man could go and buy some paints off the side of the fucking road for like a couple dollars, I would assume, back then, or even like a couple of pounds or whatever, and create art. Nobody would buy it, but at least he's doing it for himself. You could sustain yourself, at the very least. Renaissance men were usually sponsored by figures of state. That is actually a really good point! Yes, artists in the Renaissance, if we take the assumption, oh, maybe create a painting, they were paid by the state, the government. This is so contradictory. Most people in the Renaissance were peasants? Yeah, and life fucking sucked. It did. You died at like age 35 of bronchitis and then you fall over and collapse and you're done. Hopefully you popped out 4 kids and they can carry on your legacy. Or the church. Oh yeah, the church loved paying artists to do stuff for them. That's actually a good point. Yeah. There's a grain of truth to this post, but it's still mostly trash. I agree there is a grain of truth that there's a lot of demotivated people, but it doesn't get to the root of the problem that the attitude is like, just go stop being depressed. It's made up in your head that society shits on you and wants you to go die as a man. You're not being uplifted in the same way as like a girl. You aren't. I'm sorry. You are not. Depression isn't real. It can't hurt you. Yeah, until I blow my brains out. Wait, here's another tweet. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Oh, wait, I already looked at it. You mean this one? Yeah, okay. Yeah, imagine having no motivation. Why do so many men lack motivation? That's the real question. Yeah, because they get shit on all the time. They get shit on all the time, and then porn is also oversaturated, in my opinion, people's, like, dopamine receptors. They do have a point that many have genetically lower levels of dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation. No, it's not genetically. It's not genetic, it's conditioned. This kind of evolution wouldn't have happened in, like, 20 years. Everyone is a lot more brain rotted than you think. Chat, I was told there are 2 things you can control in your life, your attitude and how hard you work. I believe in anyone who's Gen Z here. Don't give up. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask your parents or anyone who's willing to help. Patience, that's the first step. My guy, can I just tell you from my perspective, my parents grew up in Soviet Russia, and they came to America at one point, and they were like, and then I was born and my brother was also born before that. When I told them I was really sad, they just told me to suck it the fuck up and that I'm not actually sad and I'm just doing it for attention. And I love my parents, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm absolutely not dissing my parents in any form of capacity. But their point of view was like, my daughter is living in one of the greatest countries in the world. Why is she fucking sad? There's nothing wrong with her. And I'm sure that even people who are from America, who have parents that are obviously older than them, who grew up with a lot better economic circumstances, housing, job opportunities, it sucks because, like, when you try to explain to them, like, hey, I need help, they shit on you. It's all relative to your own circumstances? Well, yeah, but, like, the point is like, when you ask for help from certain people, they basically don't really offer you anything, and then you're stuck in a hole that's kind of hard to dig yourself out of. Immigrant parents are usually like that. Yes, unfortunately. Like, again, I cannot reiterate this enough. I love my parents. I love them. But when you're in a bad place, they don't know how to explain to you that, like, you do have it amazing and that you can dig yourself out of it. But to them, that how they say it out loud is usually, no, you don't actually have it that bad. I had it worse. And it's like, yes, thank you. I'm well aware, but you're not really helping me. It's not helping my mental. That's not how you help someone. It would have been even nicer if they just said, like, oh, Alana, your life is really great. Maybe we should try and change it up. No, it literally just was like, boom. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, it wasn't a competition. My parents always made it a competition. My brother experienced the exact same thing, by the way, as well. When he was really sad about his decision making in life and what he picked to study at university or college, they got mad at him. They didn't understand that, like, maybe he made a mistake and he's regretting it, and they automatically try and, like, say, oh god, you're trying to make it like my fault that I'm a bad parent. And it's like, no, that's not how it is. There are so many, but anyway, that I'm getting way off the deep end. But my point is, it's more of a societal and a circumstantial thing rather than a man thing, because it's society creates weak men. Weak men aren't born into existence. Even if you go back and say something like, oh, men are like less likely to have high testosterone and that's why they suck at being motivated and this and that and it's the food, that still wouldn't make sense, because there were cases in a lot of countries and in a lot of historical points in history where people were downtrodden and sad, but there was still society behind them that pulled them up. Yes, you could be a poor guy or you could be a rich guy, but you're still a guy in essence. There's rich people who suffer from mental health issues now, a lot. Like, a lot more than it used to be. Or it used to. Yeah, it must be those damn video games, right? The society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its done fighting by fools. That's pretty deep. You don't need to make a lot if you already got stability. And that's the problem. There's no stability in society right now. Yes, imagine not making yourself into the most interesting man ever, and going on thousands of adventures and creating an off-grid militia, whatever that means. And you, by the way, which are all completely free of cost. You don't have to pay for a bus or a plane, pay for gear, for set activity, for, you know, living out in the woods, shelter, and food when you get there. Yep, it's totally just so easy and feasible to show up to a new place and fucking build an outdoor boys camp with sticks and leaves and shit in it. I know that's how people used to live by, but it's not feasible anymore. It's just not. Otherwise you would see people doing it. Genuinely. The most I ever see is people living out of vans, and even then they're complaining the whole time how much gas costs. Yeah, the van life, poggers, and then there's 4 kids living in a van on the floor. I don't know. This guy's cooked. I feel like he has a very warped perception of how people in society might feel towards men and how the economy works, because you have a master's degree in cognitive and behavioral neuroscience. Where did you get that degree from? You went to school. How did you get the money to go to school? That's probably an expensive degree. You can't legally do that anymore. Manifest destiny is over. You can't just build a house anywhere. Yeah, but he's arguing go out in the middle of the woods, and I'm like, but you have to have, like, assets in the first place. You have to have money in the first place to be able to buy a car, or buy a van, or buy a gun, or buy wood, or have even petrol for your motorcycle. It's called assets. We watched a video on it like a month ago. If you boil the state of the market all the way down, people with assets are doing okay, own their house, and people without assets are struggling because they can't save. Yes, and in the 80s, it wasn't that bad. You could save up 3 grand working at Taco Bell. Just from a logistical point of view, groceries are insanely expensive. You can't feasibly save up money to get stuff. Can we take his degree away? No, I just think that people like this need to go back to reality. I would love to hear what they have to say. If I broke it down and I said, okay, you want people who are upset to start saving money and cut back on every single thing in life. The only thing that gives them dopamine is television and media and video games. And you somehow want them to quit their job or be unemployed and still be happy and have motivation. You can't just go live somewhere? I mean, this guy thinks you can. Maybe you can if you live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. I don't know, in like fucking Canada, but I kind of doubt it works. Anyway.
Oh yeah.